All right. So my name is Deirdre Sokolowska. The date is March 2nd, 2021. I'm from Ottawa. I grew up in Canada, which is a little suburb there. And I guess we're talking about reoccurring dreams today. Reoccurring dreams, I guess most people have similar dreams that they have. Like I know a lot of people have the being naked in public and the weird and like flying dreams and that. But for me, I guess reoccurring dreams are these dreams that you just kind of, yeah, they're dreams that happen more than once, but for me, they've happened over throughout my life and they've changed. They don't look the same. Like, I think there's this weird TV idea of reoccurring dreams where they're always the same. And like, I feel like it's almost going to visit a place when you have a reoccurring dream. I think the one that I had the other day that was similar to the animal dream, because usually the animal dream starts, I have all these animals, and it could be in any different situation. It doesn't happen in the same place. I'll have like lions, usually just one lion, and then there's all these other animals like deer, mice, cats, um, little birds, sometimes like very sick animals. I'll see them and they've got like crusty fur and eyes, and I'm just like very concerned about them. And then they all start like devouring each other, and it reminds me of that snake eating its tail, but I'm constantly trying to like mediate between these animals and like I'm taking animals outside of their mouths. Like I'll open their jaws. It doesn't matter if it's a cat or a fox or a lion or a deer, I'll open their mouth and I'll reach in and I'm trying to get the animals that they've swallowed and pulling them out. And I just cry. I'll always wake up and I just feel so, it just feels terrible. It feels like being like a small child again and like just that terror you feel. I think it's strange that some of the animals that you wouldn't think should be eating each other are eating each other. The flood one, it's this house. The flood, it's this house, and it's there's so many floors, and it's all kind of this gray, dark gray and blues, and everything's so washed out in the house, and it smells like I imagine it smells of like an abandoned building or like a damp basement with carpets, and you're going through, and it's almost like gutted inside and I'm trying to get to the top of the house because I have this feeling just because of how dark it is and like how the light changes. I feel like we're at the bottom of the ocean and I can feel like I don't feel the pressure, like I can't, but my body, it's obviously dream logic and I feel the weight of the water squeezing the house, but I keep getting distracted by these rooms with people in them and they're hanging out on the floor, or I'll see someone I know in the house and I'll get distracted. And but I like want to get to the top of the house and I've never reached the top and I keep imagining in my head that there's probably a window or something that I could get out of and swim out, but I never do. Well, in the house, I don't, I think the house, it's not so much the imagery. Maybe it's like this feeling while I'm in the house, while I want to get to the top. The reason I get distracted by the idea of people being in the house is I don't want to be alone. I want to take care of something. Like if I'm with someone and even if they're afraid, like I'm not thinking about how they'll take care of me. I'm thinking if I can take care of them, I can figure this situation out. Like I'll get it together and I'll try and pull people to like go up with me, but no one ever wants to go. They're just like distracted by whatever, like they're still living in the house. Not like it's a house, but they're kind of preoccupied. they don't have the panic. They're not living in the house. It's just like they're not real people. Um, they're not, I don't even think that they might be in the same space as me. They feel like more like ghosts than people. I think the animal ones have j always been since I was little. Like I would always get very stressed out, and then those would happen. The house, hmm, maybe when I was 20, I think that's when they started. Whereas like the animal dream, I think it's just the sheer amount of animals. Like it's not just five or six or a couple. It's like there's a mass amount. It's like almost like seeing ants under a rock. There's that many animals. It's just like that's also, it just makes my skin crawl thinking about how many of them are clustered together too. I think I just moved to Manchester in England, and I was very sad there. I ended up dropping out. I lived there in the dorms, even though I had left, and I was pretty honest with like my dorm mates, but I couldn't go back to Canada at the time. But in the Manchester, the sky is so yellow even at night, and I found it so hard to sleep even with the blinds because the dorm is right next to the train station, and it would be on this clockwork rhythm, and I would wake up when I was there a lot because someone had told me, a friend in the dorm, because I was like, oh, sometimes I notice that the train's off, and I always kind of wonder about that. And she mentioned that someone, like people jump in front of the trains a lot, and it takes them time to like clean it up and get people to come down. And I didn't know if that was true or not until someone in our dorm actually jumped on the tracks, just like at Piccadilly Station there. And I remember like I just found it very hard to sleep, that I almost became like delirious because I would wake up if I subconsciously, I was such sleeping so lightly. If I didn't hear the sound of the train, I would jar awake, but I wouldn't like think about people hurting themselves. There would just be this sense of panic. And when I could fall asleep, it would be in the mornings, and I would just be so exhausted. And I don't know why I was thinking of a house, maybe because I was lonely. And I think I have like a lot of loss and regret when I think about the house. I think it reminds me a lot of like dreams I have when that are like they're reoccurring, but they're not in theme. It's just like, oh, it feels like sometimes like when someone that's passed away or people that you don't talk to anymore, or just like it's almost like they're visiting you, and it's like they're intruding on your dream, but in the house dream, I know it's not them. I know it's my mind talking to me. So it's like they're not even themselves, and I don't have like a very clear enough picture of them as a person. So I just have these weird little shadows of them. I've been trying lately to like have like a more positive, like take more charge of my days and like decide it's gonna be a good day. But there are definitely these like the animal one doesn't bother me as much once I wake myself up and I'm like a lot more conscious because I could be like, ah, that didn't happen. Obviously I don't have any, these are imaginary animals. No, like it's a gruesome thing to see, and it like will sometimes upset me if it gets like a little too like more violent, like it could get pretty gory, and that will kind of like upset me for a bit while I'm waking up, but then it will fade to the background. I think the house one though, that one sticks with me throughout the day where it's almost like I remember reading once, and this is like a little too dramatic, but I was thinking about it a lot lately, where people accidentally uh manslaughter, they accidentally hit someone with their car, and how they feel like throughout their life, like even if like they don't go to jail or something, but like, say like they go through the proper means of like court and whatever, but they're like, oh, for the rest of my life. One person was like, even if I'm at a party or if I'm feeling happy, and if like sometimes when I'm feeling joy, I'll like remember this thing and it just like comes over me like a wave. And then like you have to accept that nobody else in the room is gonna like know about it or understand it, and like you can't bring it up. And I feel like that sometimes with like bad dreams, like obviously not to that degree. I haven't murdered someone by accident, but dreams are this thing that people don't really care about other than yourself. But they can have like an extreme effect on your mood. For me, like reoccurring dreams, like I won't go to sleep. They affect me a lot, but people don't want to hear about people's dreams. Like, I had a dream last night. It's like, okay, buddy. There's this one room in one of the houses, well, not one of the houses, in the house that's like the insides change. Like I can see like my ex-partner in there. We were together for a very long time and we do not get along. We do not like each other. But that's who I was talking about in my introduction video. And I think there's just like a lot of unresolved pain, but like regrets because I don't like how I behaved in that relationship or afterwards. And like going to visit them in that room because there is like you miss them and there's still like love, and then getting distracted in the room because I'm just like, oh, I don't want to like fail you again and leave you in this room, but like they don't want me there, or like we'll end up like, not to be graphic, we'll end up having sex again, but it's like sad dream sex, and you're just like, oh, and then you're just like in this room, and then you feel trapped. And like I remember being in like living with them for years, and then like being in the apartment, and we were just always so unhappy when we were like laying in bed sometimes, especially near the end, and that would feeling would come over me again whenever I'm in that room, whether we have sex or we don't. And I'm just like, I can't leave the room. And I feel that feeling because I'm like, I remember us both not being able to exit the relationship. And I'm like, oh, I have to get out of this room, but I also don't want to leave you in this room to die and drown in this ocean. I worry what I'm doing in other people's heads sometimes when they're sleeping. Dreams after a while, just like any other story, kind of evolve in your head, and it doesn't really need to have meanings. It's just your mind's latched onto this imagery, maybe.